Governments around the world are moving very quickly to restrict kids on social media. And this is no longer just one country testing a new law. Australia is cracking down, the UK is moving forward, other countries are watching, and big tech may be losing the public. But the bigger question is this: are governments finally protecting kids from platforms that went too far? Or is this the beginning of government control over the internet? Let's get into it. Social media getting banned for teenagers and under, kids, adolescents, what have you. We're getting into that entire thing. Coach and Rissman here on Screenaholics Report today. Thank you for coming by. So the social media ban movement is now going global. Here's some key information that we need to know. There's a new Guardian report saying that social media is doing an age ban and nearing a global tipping point with growing public concern over teenage social media use. Countries mentioned in the global push include the UK, Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Brazil, France, Austria, Norway, among others. The key issue is that big tech appears to be losing public trust, especially with parents. This sets up the big conversation: child safety versus internet freedom. So we got the article from The Guardian. Tech firms are losing the public, and basically the premise there: social media age bans near a tipping point. Rissman, do you think, just on the surface level, don't you think that there's so many dangers associated with social media that it's probably a good thing to have some type of restriction? But does that violate some freedoms? Absolutely it does. That's somewhat of a catch-22, isn't it?
It is. And so when you first told me about this topic, my reaction was, this sounds good to me. I mean, coming up through a generation such as you and I have, right, that had none of this stuff from a younger age, my go-to is, I think, restricting screen usage and social media and all the rest of it for children of a younger age. It makes sense right now. My personal opinion is the parents should have the main role in adjudicating that and figuring out what's best for their family and what's best for their children.
Right.
And so on your point, when I think a little bit more of it, just as I was hearing you even read the intro there, I thought to myself, well, should it be the governments that's mandating that? Does that make it icky now? You know what I mean?
It absolutely does.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like now they're parenting the children, and now I'm kind of like, oh.
Dude, I'm such a fence rider because I see the pros and cons both ways. If the government can come in and say we're banning or we're limiting their usage, then the government can do that with anything else they want to as well.
That's right.
And so now we've opened up a can of worms. This is not a good thing. And every country is not like mine and yours. Most countries in the world don't let you have free speech, and the right to protest and the things that we have in America. So this is definitely a violation of some freedoms. And Australia has recently become the test case for this. Here's some things about Australia we got to recognize. They already passed one of the toughest under 16 age social media bans. New reports say Australia is now moving forward into tougher enforcement against tech companies. The Australian government is looking to double penalties for non-compliant platforms to 99 million and expand the powers of the e-safety commissioner. Reuters also reported that Australia is strengthening its regulatory's demand or ability to demand evidence from tech companies about what they're going to do to stop 16 unders from creating accounts. If bans are passed, then how far does enforcement have to go? This is clearly going to be something that you're going to have to enforce. It kind of reminds me of the old school days of Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa and everything else in the torrent, piracy world. I mean, you can't regulate it. People are going to find the loopholes. Kids are going to find the way to bypass said ban, and they're effectively going to be breaking the law. So now we're going to have more criminals around the world. It's just such a slippery slope, my friend.
No, I agree with you, and so I think the more I think about it, even in just these few minutes, right, I would love for it to be some sort of an opt-in, opt-out kind of a situation. If you even think they could do this in the first place, right? If you think about it, how would a government, any government, be able to throttle the usage of anyone's anything, right, from a technology standpoint?
So one example, there are multiple states in America that have passed legislation where cellular phones are are no longer allowed in public schools.
Mm,
The kids can have them there, but they have to be powered off. And if you are caught using a cellular device, a cell phone, a smartwatch, or anything like that, it is taken up, and obviously the school systems are handling how they do that. That's not legislated. There are some that are the kid is automatically suspended from school. Parents are having to come up there to get the devices. Like it's a serious thing. So it's already happening in education. There's this big, huge one-to-one initiative over the past 15 years where we want every one of our students in our school system to have their own Chromebook or their own MacBook or their own iPad or whatever it is, and we're going to use that in class. Now they're seeing there's so much evidence to support that it's actually harmful. There's an abundance of screen time for these kids that has so many negative effects. And then when you mix in the things that I see on social media, the things that you see on social media, a 14-year-old doesn't need to be seeing that. It's bad. You're seeing the worst of the worst as you scroll through Twitter. It's the worst things possible that you could see. So it's worse than the things that those old VHS tapes that came out in the early 90s, like banned on television. You can't see this. You can only see it on this tape. Well, now it's on Twitter. That's all you see as you scroll, just the worst of the worst in humanity. And it's not good for a young brain that's still developing. That's my final take. What is your final take, sir?
I totally get what you're saying from a schoolhouse perspective, where you have an environment where somebody can oversee and regulate that.
Yeah,
But
good
if you think
point.
about it, when you're not at that schoolhouse,
Sit in your house.
how do you even know
Whew.
it's your phone versus your kid's phone, right? I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking how enforceable this kind of thing would be
Right.
anyway. That's why I would love for it to be something that was opt in, opt out, where something happened where parents could step up and say, you know what, I like this idea. I would like to adopt this, more than just parental controls, right? I would love to opt into this, whatever this thing is, right, that the
Right.
government is offering, and how it's going to be controlled. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to let you do it. And if they're not all about that, they can just opt out and just keep it in the family, keep it in the home, and
Right.
let them handle things the way they want. Otherwise, it just feels like one of those things to me. I don't even know how technology wise, I don't even know how the government would do it anyway.
I
Maybe
don't
that's a
either.
good thing, because I don't
Yeah.
think they should.
Right. I don't know, man. It's going to be hard to govern. There's no doubt about that. It's kind of like cell phones and driving. You
Yeah.
know, it's against the law, but every time I drive down the street, I see everybody on their cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's common.
Yeah.
They're clearly looking at their phone.
Yeah.
So anyway, and at night you can see the light shining on their faces. Just so anyways, it's a mess, guys. We're in a mess, okay? And I know you have the solution. So let us know in the comments what that solution is so we can make a report on it, guys. Thanks so much for watching this video and engaging with us in this conversation. I'm Coach. He's Rissman. We're Screenaholics Report. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Take care, everyone.